All right, episode 32 of the TJ Martino podcast. Thanks for being here. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy 2021. We've made it. Another rotation, or revolution actually, around the sun. So congratulations, we made it. Yeah, this is going to be a fun episode today. I'm doing a couple of lists. I usually like to do these at the end of the year. It's list season. This is the time where you get all your lists in. And I got two lists today. One of them I've never done before, so that'll be fun. But first, I just wanted to talk about New Year's and the holidays. You know, had a great holiday, got everything I ever wanted. And yeah, it was really good. Got to go out to Wisconsin, see my sister. Check out episode 8 if you want some context on that. But that was neat, and then came back, had New Year's here in Ohio, and yesterday we got the big win for the Buckeyes. As you know, I'm repping them. My Buckeyes defeated Clemson yesterday in amazing fashion. I was not expecting the Buckeyes to do what they did. They looked great. And, yeah, the defense, man. Holy cow, getting big turnovers on a really good team from Clemson. First win ever. And they're going to the national championship. So what do I think about that real quick before I get into these lists? Honestly, I like it. I like this matchup with Bama. I actually think the Buckeyes got a chance to win this. I actually picked the Buckeyes to win 34-30 against Clemson, so I knew it was going to be a high-scoring game, and it was. And I think this Bama game won't be any different. These teams love to get at it in the air. Just hope Justin Fields can heal up. I mean, that was a gutsy game from him in that Sugar Bowl. He looked great. Even though he was injured, man. I thought they should have pulled him towards the end of the half, and they didn't. So hopefully he can heal up and be effective for them against Bama, because they're going to need all the help they can get. Alabama is a great football team. They are every year. So I'm rooting for my Buckeyes, pulling strong. And shout out to me on Twitter. Got a big viral tweet there. Got like 100 likes or whatever on a tweet. So I'm pretty hyped about that clout. So it's been a good 2021 for me so far. So as we move on, let's look back on 2020. It's been a crazy year. Like I said, I've actually liked this year a lot. Last year, technically now, I thought it was a really neat year just because you got to learn a lot about this world, a lot about how people handle trauma and crisis. So I thought that's been fascinating to see. And it's definitely not going to be a year I forget. But as for music, it's been actually a pretty good year for music, 2020. I was actually surprised at how many good projects there were that made it out this year. Because, most of the time, 2019 for me, I didn't love. I thought there was a lot of albums that flopped, a lot of albums that were underwhelming. But 2020, I thought there was just a lot of subject matter out there in the world for people to pick up on and make music. And, and a lot of time. People had a lot of time. They weren't touring. They weren't, doing a lot of shows. So it's just on the grind, I can imagine, for the producers and songwriters and musicians out there. So the first list I want to do is the top 10 albums of 2020. This was actually a really hard list to make because there was some pretty good albums this year, especially during the spring and quarantine. You got to really sit down and had a lot of time on my hands, so I would just throw on music and play games or hang out or whatever. So I got to listen to a lot of stuff this year, which was interesting. So let's go through these. I want to go through some honorable mentions before I get into the top 10. It's usually what I like to do. The first one is Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, Kid Cudi's third Man on the Moon album. Definitely the weakest of the three, but there is some good jams on there, and definitely some vintage Kid Cudi sounding songs on there. So I was a fan of that one. Next, The Hustle Continues with Juicy J. This was an album. As you know, I love Juicy J. He's one of my favorite rappers of all time. So I'm going to listen to everything he comes out with, mixtapes, albums. And this was actually a pretty strong trap album coming out towards the end of this year. I kind of wished, again, it would have come out a little earlier. But I did enjoy the album. I thought it was good. There's some good tracks on there, some catchy hooks. And, you get that Juicy J flow. He kills it on every beat. And he's actually become a really good producer lately. So shout out to him. The Director's Cut with Currency and Harry Fraud. A really good sequel album this year that nobody was really expecting. Had some good tracks on there. The Trippie Redd one was one I really liked, and The Crow's Nest has one of the dirtiest beats of the year. So I definitely suggest checking that one out, and we'll be talking about them later. And then From a King to a God by Conway the Machine, another one I really liked. Griselda. This was a big year for them. As you know, I've been on the Griselda hype train for a while, if you've been listening to me. So I got nothing else to say outside of these guys are one of the futures of hip-hop music. They're really on the scene now. They did a lot of good features. And this album from Conway was really strong. I thought it was a nice burst onto the mainstream scene for Conway. So now let's get into the top 10 here. The top 10 albums of 2020. Let's get into it. Number 10, Burden of Proof by Benny the Butcher. As you know, speaking of Griselda, I just talked about Conway. But this album, this was Benny's big first studio, big budget album. You had Hit Boy doing a lot of beats on here, had some big name features, and I liked this album. I thought it was good. And Benny, like for me, I've always loved Benny. He's one of my favorite rappers of the late 2010s. Tana Talk 3 is still my favorite project of his. That is grimy and gritty as it gets when it comes to street hip hop. But this was a little bit more polished and clean, and I didn't think Benny really fit on some of these beats, but like I said, I think overall there is some really quality hip hop on this. So it made the top 10 for me. As I said, I love Benny. He needs to continue making music. He had a monster year with features. So good for him. He's finally bursting on the scene like I knew he would. Number 9, Scary Hours by The Weeknd. This one came out in, I think, March or April, right at the beginning of quarantine. And I mean, this is vintage Weeknd. Weeknd really went back to his roots here, had a lot of slow R&B jams, but also had this really nice blend of 80s synth pop in there as well. And obviously Blinding Lights was a huge hit. But honestly, my favorite song on there is Save Your Tears. That is a really great song. I was a big fan of that one. So shout out to The Weeknd, man. He's killing it right now. And no Grammy nom for him. What's up with that, man? That's a ripoff. I think this album should have been nominated. I mean, he has the clout. He has the notoriety. He sold enough records. And that's really what the Grammys care about. So, like, come on. Throw the guy a bone, will you? Next, at number 8, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon by Pop Smoke. I was very surprised by this. This was a posthumous album. A lot of posthumous albums have come out over the past couple of years. We'll be talking about some. And this is the first one. I liked Meet the Woo by Pop Smoke. I listened to it actually back in like January. And I was like, at first I was like, what the hell is this? Because a lot of kids in my fraternity were playing this, Pop Smoke at our parties, in like January and February when I was back in school. And I was like, what is this music? I didn't get it, And then kind of like in February and into March, around the time he passed, I actually think I listened to him before he passed, but it wasn't long before. But he obviously didn't really hit the scene until he had passed away. And, Meet the Woo 2 was an album I liked, but this one was the posthumous album that came out this past summer. A lot of people were very excited for it because there was a lot of unreleased music. And I thought it was good. I mean, the deluxe version I think is very bloated, but the original album I thought was good, and there is some good songs on there. I really like I like the song Yeah, if I can remember. Let me pull up the album, because there is some ones on here that I liked. I liked Yeah. I liked Creature with Sway Lee. 44 Bulldog is a nasty banger. So a lot of good tracks on here. I was pretty surprised by how much I liked this. And obviously Dior and Tunnel Vision was another one. A lot of those UK drill beats, he just absolutely killed. And I'm a big fan of Pop Smoke. I love his sound. I love his grit. Yeah, he's not the best rapper in the world, but I love his sound and his voice, and he just the way he would ride on those drill beats. He did it better than really a lot of American rappers that have tried to capture that sound. I think he was one of the ones that captured it the fastest, and I think he had a lot of potential. So it's a shame that he passed the way he did. And rest in peace, Pop Smoke. He's a legend. It's a good album. I think it's a good album. There is definitely a lot of filler. There's a lot of songs with unnecessary features for sure. You can make that argument, but I like the album. I've been bumping a lot of music off it, and that's really for me how I make these lists is replayability. So definitely bumped that one a lot during the late summer. Number 7, Pray for Paris by West Side Gun. Yeah, like I said, Griselda has been on fire, and this album was really good. It snuck up on me and had some really, really, really pretty production on here, man. I was really impressed with what West Side Gun. I mean, from the album cover by Virgil Abloh, which is really got that kind of, Renaissance painting. I love those kind of album covers when people do that, where they have those kind of old, classical Renaissance paintings, as their album art. I think that's always a really cool touch. But that's just the first thing I liked about this album. There's so much here, from No Vacancy, that grimy beat, to George Bondo with Conway and Benny. Just really, really, really good stuff. And then obviously 327 with Joey Badass and Tyler, the Creator. I like that one a lot. That's got a really calming beat to it. A lot of really soft, pretty production on here. And then obviously $500 Ounces with Freddie Gibbs and Rock Marciano is just a, really dope sample production on there from Alchemist. Everything you really want in a grimy cocaine rap song. So I'm all about that, as you know. But then Versace, I think that may be my favorite song on the album. That beat is amazing by Jay Versace. Really dope production. And a lot of different producers on here, a lot of different sounds, but it all kind of comes together to make one of the strongest rap albums of the year, in my opinion. I was really impressed with this album. And I'm not the biggest West Side Gun fan, especially when he tries to sing and do some of that stuff. But I love his character. I love his personality. So for me, I had to include that one. Number 6 is The Slow Rush by Tame Impala. I love Tame Impala. I'm a big fan. I've been listening to Tame Impala since, I think, sophomore year of college. It was really when I got into them. Really got into Currents. I think it's one of the best albums of the 2010s, in my opinion. So I was very excited for this next album as Tame Impala kind of entered the mainstream over the past couple of years. And this album didn't disappoint. There's a lot of really good stuff on here. And not everything works for me, and that's why it's not higher up on my list. But I think that the tracks that I like on here, they work so well. And one of them being Posthumous Forgiveness, which may be my favorite song on this album. I love the way the beat switches up and it becomes kind of this very slow, reminiscent song. Very, very good vibes. This came out actually on Valentine's Day. He went up against Justin Bieber. I think he beat Justin Bieber in album sales. If not, probably not. But it seemed like it, because this definitely got better reviews than Justin Bieber's album. And I like this album a lot more than Justin Bieber's album from Valentine's Day. So I'll give it that. Breathe Deeper. It should have sold more. But Breathe Deeper, another good one. On Track, Lost in Yesterday, super catchy. I actually like Is It True, too. That's another one I really liked. That's catchy. Might Be Time. Yeah, really good mix of radio hits and deep cuts on this one. I don't like it as much as Currents. I think Currents is so much stronger. I think it's way more sophisticated from a production standpoint. And I think some of the songs are better written. But I do think this is a good album. Like I said, it's on my top 10. So I think it's a really good album. And that's why I slid in at number 6. I wanted to get it higher, but it just, there was just some songs on here drag a little bit. I think it overstates its welcome in some areas. But like I said, I'm being nitpicky. I think this is a really good album. And anybody that likes Tame Impala likes this album a lot. Number 5 on my list is Thief in the Night by Evie. Shout out to Evan. He was on episode 13 of the podcast. If you want to check that out, we did an interview promoting this album. And, a little bit of bias, sure, but I really liked this album and what Evan was able to do with this. He showed a lot of range on here, from production to, mixing a lot of hip hop and pop, and even like guitar ballads and piano ballads are really, really well done. I was really surprised. And I'm not just saying this because Evan's one of my friends. I'm saying this because I think it's true. And I've always been honest with Evan about his music because I want him to be great. And I do think this album is really solid. And, my favorite songs, Matador, super fun, Fast Forward, Keep Floating. I love that when he showed me that. Still love it. Best of Us is a really, really, really good piano song ballad. I was very surprised. I listened to it when he showed me that first time. I'm like, yo, this is really good. Bing Bong, I think, is really good. It has really good elements to it. I think it could have been cleaned up a little bit more, and I told him that when he made it. But it was an older song, so I think he lost some of the files for it. But oh well. I still like it. All Right Rye is really good. That's a really sweet song. Yeah, and then obviously Late Night Drive. That was another one. And Sobriety. So shout out to you, Evan. Evie, Thief in the Night. Check it out if you haven't. Came out in January. And check out episode 13 of the podcast if you want more information on that album. Yeah, go stream it. It's everywhere. Yeah, and number 4 on my list is an album that came out in April, and I absolutely loved it. I think it almost got most of the plays for me this year. I bumped this album like crazy. Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist. Yeah, what do you say about this album that hasn't been said already? It's Grammy nominated. I think it's going to win. I think it should win Best Hip Hop Album. This is the best rap album of the year, in my opinion. Well, actually, no, it's not. There is one rap album I like better than this, but it's one of the best rap albums of the year. I can say that. I absolutely love this album. From start to finish, it's very compact. I love these kind of rap albums that are very compact. They're very short, and they're just the best, because you get so many albums nowadays that are so bloated and so filled with tracks, and you're streaming through trying to find the ones you like, and you don't even end up listening to the whole thing. But with this album, you can listen to it from start to finish in 35 minutes and not waste a single minute. I mean, Freddie and Alchemist don't mess around on this album. They don't mess around. Really good stuff here. And like I said, Freddie made the album of the year for me last year. Bandana with Madlib. It's an incredible, incredible album to this day. And this one, I think, rivals it. I like Bandana a little bit more than this album, personally. I think a lot of the production on there is a little bit more ambitious than this. And it's a little bit denser of a project. But, man, I really loved Alfredo a lot. And I think it's going to win the Grammy for sure. It should. I was lobbying for Freddie to get nominated for a Grammy for Bandana. So I'm glad he's finally getting that mainstream recognition he deserves. I've been on the Freddie Gibbs hype train since like 2017, so I'm ready for Freddie. But as for Alfredo, man, I mean, what can you say? The production on here is top notch from Alchemist. Alchemist is one of the best producers working today. Period. Everything from the guitar on 1985 that's just so loud and so filled with personality, and then you got God Is Perfect, which is just a nasty banger. Nasty production on there. And then you get into Scotty Beam with Rick Ross with that pretty piano production. Wow, just really great contrast throughout this thing. And then you get Frank Lucas with Benny. That's just nasty as hell. And then you get into Something to Rap About, which is probably my favorite song on this whole album, and it is incredible. That guitar sample is fantastic. I love the luxurious on the water feel you get from this song. It just definitely has that laying on the beach kind of sound, and I'm all about it. And Tyler's verse on here is fantastic as well. Great features. I love Baby Shit and Babies and Fools. Those are two great ones. And Skinny Suge is another one that I thought was good. I mean, this whole album's pretty solid and has very little filler. And I think it's going to be rap album of the year for the Grammys. And if it's not, then, it's just more of a reason why the Grammys is a complete joke. But I don't know. Maybe they can redeem themselves this year and actually pick a worthy album. And that is Alfredo. I think it deserves to win. It's great. It's one of the best rap albums of the year from a rapper and producer that are just at the top of their game, especially Freddie. Freddie has been absolutely on fire these past 3 or 4 years. I mean, from Freddie to Fetty to Bandana to this. I mean, the moon is the limit with this guy. And now he's getting a lot of mainstream attention, from his Instagram and all of that. So, it's about time. Much due for Freddie Gibbs. And The Alchemist, like I said, he's one of the best. He's one of my favorite producers. The dude just understands how to make really, really pretty, but also at times grimy beats. And he does kind of get out of his comfort zone a little bit on this album and try some new things, which I'm all about. So big fan of that one. Next thing we got here is at number 3, Year Zero from Chami. Chami, if you don't know, is a French house producer, DJ. I am a huge fan of Chami. I've loved Chami for about 3 or 4 years now. I've seen him 3 times in concert. So, yeah, huge fan of Chami. I was very excited to see this album because this is Chami's debut album. He's been around, the electronic house scene for a while, but he kind of, has been dropping a lot of singles and has found a Confession music label that has done really well in the house scene, the French house scene, and helped kind of push that into the mainstream for EDM. And now we have Chami with Year Zero, his debut album that I think was supposed to come out in the summer, but obviously was postponed due to the pandemic and ended up coming out at the end of October. And that's really my only complaint with this. Actually, there's a few filler songs on here, but outside of that was my biggest complaint, was that I wish this album was released in the summer. Even though, I get it, because I think he was holding out, hoping that maybe they could have concerts this year, which has really hurt this genre of music a lot this year, which I'll get into. But Chami with Year Zero, I thought this album was so good from a production standpoint. It's so clean, so glossy, so pretty in the production. The different sound design on here is fantastic, from the drops to the melodies, some of the features are really good on here. I was really impressed with this thing, man. Really impressed with how concise it is, how cohesive it is, and how much evokes a lot of Chami's previous work, but at the same time pushes the envelope with new sounds and flair to it, and new layers to a lot of the production on here. Heartless, the opener, I absolutely love. Sounds like almost like a video game in its production. So simple. Proud, which was a single that came out, I'm a big fan of. When it came out when I saw Chami in February, right before the pandemic hit, which I'll get into later. But also Toxic Love, big fan of that one with Suburban Plaza on the vocals. Really, really, really good stuff. I love the melody to that and the verses. And the hook's catchy. And the drop, I wish had a little bit more melody to it. It's just straight bass, which I'm fine with, because this album has a lot of melodic drops. So I was fine with just like a hard, heavy bass hit in Toxic Love. Buenos Aires, another single I loved. Praise is a song with Gunna I absolutely did not like. It's one of the few songs I did not like on this album. I like the melody and the beat, but Gunna's vocals do absolutely nothing for me on this thing. But then you get into Shine On, which I think is one of my favorite songs on the album. I mean, just gorgeous production. I remember hearing it for the first time. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous how good this is. And he kind of changes up the tempo, goes about 110 BPMs, and just slams you over the head with this really pretty production. Because usually when you hear that, songs at that BPM, you usually hear harder production, more trap-based, harder bass. But with this, he went prettier, and it works so well. All on Me, which we'll get into later. I absolutely love that track. The Light, Sweet Savage, Monsignor, Rebirth, which is, I think, my favorite song on the album. I absolutely love this with Stacey Barth. When these two get together, it's magic. Chami and Stacey Barth got a special chemistry. And then Born Again, banger as well. And the Ain't That Kind of Friend is a low-key good one on there. So, yeah, really solid album, man. Really solid electronic house album. Future house, if you like that, if you like pop house, any of that, you'll like a lot on this album. It has a lot. It even has those touches of hard French house and bass house on here as well. So a lot for everybody, and it's also not too hard, but not too, poppy. It's kind of got a nice blend of the two, while also having this very elegant production to it. So Year Zero, it really blew me away, and is solidifying why Chami is one of the best and most underrated, I believe, artists working today and producers working today. Really great stuff. Number 2, we're down to the top 2. Number 2 on my list is The Outrunners by Currency and Harry Farad. Yep, I was blown away by how good this album was. I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe it, because I love Currency. I'm I've always had a soft spot for Currency. I love his sound of his voice, his flow, his slick bars. And yeah, he's not the best rapper in the world. I get it. There's a lot of complaints. He does, but he's so consistent. He's always dropping projects, always coming out with new work. And, he's always working with new artists, older artists. And this album, from start to finish, has some of the best beats of the year. I mean, Harry Fraud comes through with some absolutely incredible production throughout this entire project from start to finish. I mean, from the opening track, Offloading, which has an awesome vocal sample and just hard-hitting bass, and Currency goes in. It just makes Currency's job so easy. As when you get beats like this, it's hard to screw it up. It really is. And Currency kills it. Cutlass Cathedrals. Oh, my goodness, man. That beat is incredible. I was listening to this like, yo, this is off the hook. And nobody's talking about this album. That's the thing. Nobody is talking about this album at all. If you look at any like album of the year lists, you don't see this album anywhere. And I can't believe it because it is such a strong album from start to finish. And from the hooks are catchy. The production is top notch. It's so crisp. 90 IROC Z with Wiz. I mean, you get great vocals from Wiz. You get a great singing from Wiz. I was so surprised. I was like, this hook is great. The piano production on this song is so good. Man, it's good. And then you get Golden Chrome, which is one of the best quarantine songs of the year, period, man. The subject matter, how he's talking about, how Currency talks about, his son and how he wants him to, hopefully grow up in a world that's not like the world we're living in right now in 2020. So it was a great encapsulation of the summer when there was a lot of confusion and uncertainty with the future of this country. And there still is. But it was really well captured by Currency, I think, on that track. And the production, like I said, the vocal sampling, the horn production is just so beautiful. It's really well done. And I love the whole, it's kind of building off the Marina from 2018 when these two collaborated and made that project, and I really loved that album. So seeing them come back with this is even better, I think. And then you get Mugello Red with Rick Ross, that really hard-hitting not tropical, like almost, sounds kind of like a marina, that kind of, you hear the water and that very watery kind of production. It's kind of hard to explain, but you got to listen to it. I mean, Rick Ross kills it. I mean, it's perfect Rick Ross beat too. Then you even get Kanye the Machine on here and Riviera Beach, like that one. But Seven Seas has probably one of the nastiest beats on this whole project. Oh, my goodness. And then I also love In the Coop with Jim Jones and Pounds of Paper. I mean, this whole album. And another one that's not that long. It's only, I think it's only 25, 30 minutes long. So, I mean, just take that time and listen to an album that's just so well done and so concise. And then even check out the director's cut, like I mentioned earlier. There's some really good tracks on there. Like I said, Crow's Nest, Quicksand, 180 Days. So yeah, there's some good ones on there too. But the Outrunners, I would listen to that one first, or even the Marina. But the Outrunners, I think, would be the one to listen to first. I think this album is fantastic, and nobody's talking about it. It's one of my favorites of the year. It is my favorite rap album of the year. I bumped this album so hard. It came out, and I think it was August or September, July or August, I think. I think it was like July or August when this came out. And I was bumping this heavy into September. And then I was still bumping this album when the director's cut came out. I'm like, wow, a whole full album worth of B-sides. I'm down. So yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. I loved it. And let's go on to my number one. My number one album of 2020 was an album that I was not expecting to like at all. And that is Mac Miller's Circles. This is my number one album. I could not believe how much I love this album. I could not believe it. And I talked about this in one of my episodes last year around this time when it came out. I think it may have been my top 10 of 2019. I don't know. Go check that one out, episode 14. But I talked about Mac Miller's album, and I was saying pretty much what I'm going to say now. It's the same thing I feel. This album, I was not expecting to like it because Swimming from 2018, I did not like. Divine Feminine, I did not like. So I'm like, okay, I'm not really a big fan of the direction Mac Miller's going in. And then he obviously, unfortunately, passes away. And I do like songs on both those albums. Swimming, especially, I actually do like a few songs off there. But I thought it was kind of a boring and weak and flavorless album for the most part. But man, this album, I listened to this and I was like, this is going to be a lot of the same generic stuff. It's a posthumous album. I've not been a fan of a lot of the posthumous albums that had come out before this one. And I was like, this has a recipe for a disaster. And I listened to this thing and I could not believe how good this album was. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is unbelievable. Max singing on here, holy cow, man. I mean, it works so well. And yes, he's not a great singer, but he works so well over this production that it fits perfectly. And that's the thing, you don't necessarily have to be a great singer. It's really how you sing and what you sing over is what makes it sound good. You can be a bad singer and still make good music. It's really how you use your vocals and how and what production you're using. And Mac, I guess, understood that for this project. And man, I was so blown away with how good this album was. I really was. It was so good from top to bottom, man. Like I said, the production on here is so pretty and it's so simple. It allowed Mac's voice to just kind of carry these songs, and it didn't seem over-reliant on the production, is what I'm saying. And I loved songs, complicated, super dope, has that kind of, I think someone said it compared to like a jazz singer kind of sound, a blues club singer kind of sound in his voice. I totally see that. I love that track. Blue World, which has an awesome sample production. I mean, one of the hardest, heaviest beats on the album, really works. And then Good News, man. A lot of people love this one. It's a single. Really, really works for today. I think this one held up the most over quarantine out of all these songs. Super, super emotional. Definitely a really, crazy track to look back on now, knowing Mac and the way things ended up with him, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a powerful track and one of the best on here. But I can see that song is fantastic, man. The production on there is so pretty, and Mac's vocals and singing are really work well. And I was really a fan of this one, man. And I love like the twinkling production throughout this one, man. So good. Everybody, another one I really liked, but Woods, I absolutely loved Woods. This one grew on me heavy. I love the beat. I love Mac's verses on here. The hook is catchy as hell. This is a great single. But then you get Hand Me Downs, which has a really good feature. And that's the thing. I was expecting this album to be flooded with unnecessary features, and it's really this is the only feature I think on the album, which perfect. Because this is Mac's last album. We want to hear Mac. We don't want to hear a bunch of other people coming in and filling up space. That's what I didn't like about a lot of these posthumous albums, is they fill a lot of the songs that are incomplete with features that don't work. And this album just understood, we have Mac Miller pretty much recorded this entire album already. Let's just clean it up with the production, fill in some of the blanks, and not make it too bloated. And it worked. And with this song, Hand Me Downs, fantastic, man. The production, the hook is super catchy, and Mac has one of the best rap verses on the album, and one of the best rap verses he's done probably since Faces, in my opinion. So really, really good stuff from Mac on that. And then I like That's On Me, super catchy hook. Surf is a weak track, and even some of these deluxe tracks I wasn't a huge fan of. I kind of like the regular album, not the deluxe. But, I'm all for it. I kind of hope this is Mac's final album, honestly. I don't want them to release anything else. This is great. And it's just a shame because I wish Mac could have expanded upon this sound, in the future. But what we have now, it works. And this album is fantastic. It's my album of the year. I absolutely loved it. I played it a lot in January and into February, right? The best time of the year, because after that, everything went downhill. So those 2 months, I was bumping this album so heavy that it had an impact on me throughout the whole year. And I was listening to this thing heavy, and it hit me and resonated in a different way during and after the pandemic. As I've listened to it, I'm like, man, life has changed so much, but this album has still been there the whole time, So, like I said, Circles, really good stuff from Mac. All right, so now we're going to go into my other list, and this one will be a quicker list. This is my top 20 house songs of 2020. I love house music, as you guys know. I love electronic music, but especially I love a lot of French house, bass house, pop house, progressive house, electro house, all of it. So tech house. So for anybody that knows what any of that means, if not, house music, 125 BPMs, jumping around. And that's the thing I miss. I miss concerts and all that stuff. So this has been kind of a weird year for house music, because this music really thrives when you hear songs in a concert and you're like, damn, what is that song? And you go back and look it up, and then you start listening to it when you're working out, when you're running. If you want to learn how to run listen to this kind of music. That's all I have to say. And here's a little intro for you. If you never listened to house music before, here's a little intro. Here's 20 songs from 2020 you can listen to. Actually, it's more like 26 because I have some honorable mentions. And let's get into them. First honorable mention is Calibrator by Bellacore and Squad. This is actually from 2019. This would be my number one from 2019. I kept it in here because I listened to this song a lot in 2020. Especially, I heard it a few times in Mexico when I went there for spring break. And that was like the last concerts I've been to. So this song had a lasting impact. And yeah, it came out in 2019. That's why it's not officially on my list. But it would have been my number one this year. I absolutely love this song. If there's a song you want to choose, this is the one to choose. Then I also have Alive by Pax and Gorgon City. 2 a.m. by MK and Carla Monroe. Made in France, Blue Claire remix. Super dope. Check it out on SoundCloud. That's a SoundCloud one. I don't think that's on any of the other streaming services. So if you have SoundCloud, check that one out. It's a dope remix. Stand Up by AC Slater. Love that one. Oh Yes, Retrovision remix by Laidback Luke and Keanu Silva. And that's it. That's my honorable mentions. Now let's get into the top 20. I'll probably just list a few of these, and then as I get deeper into the list, I'll start to do some explanations. We'll go as we see it. Number 20, House Arrest by Sophie Tucker and Gorgon City. Really catchy vocals on here, and I love the heavy bass drop on here. It really works well. Really good one. Then Bring Oh Boy at number 19. Bring Oh Boy by the Cat Dealers and Swanky Tunes. Really heavy bass on this drop. I was a big fan of this one. I think I heard Cascade use this song at EDC Vegas live stream. So check that one out. I Remember at number 18 by Chris Lake. I Remember is the name of the song. Super good vocals on here. I love the funky production on this and the heavy bass that you get too at times. Really dope track from Chris Lake. I've been a big fan of his for a while, and this was a good one. I'm Gone by Joyride, which came off his album from this year, which almost made my top 10 list. It was very close to being an honorable mention too. And number 16, Escape Plan by Cave Studio. This is a duo that I found. They're kind of under the radar. Really dope duo. They made a lot of good tracks this year, but Escape Plan was probably my favorite of theirs. Then at 15, we have Don't Stop by Komi, Kohmi. Excuse my pronunciation. I'm not going to get all these right, but I'll tag a bunch of these people. Don't Stop, really dope track. This was from Confession. So this was a song that I found on one of those compilation projects from Confession. And I was like, yo, this beat is off the hook. The drop is super tight. Definitely really funky and weird. But that's kind of what I like in my house. I like a lot of crazy, wacky production. Then Lawrence Fishburne by Jesus, Jzus, number 14. Really, really, really cool, funky, jazzy production. Really dope house song. I had a lot of fun with this one when it came out, I think earlier in the year. I think I may have DJ'd with this one, if I can remember. Then number 13, we have More Life by Torn Foot. Really, really, really cool. I love that. And then it goes into the heavy bass. Really, really big fan of that. I like this track a lot. I think it came out a couple months ago. I don't know. But yeah, check it out. Torn Foot, one to look out for. Then at number 12, Bounce by Eisenberg, Foundry, and Supervision. I really like Eisenberg. If you want to look for another low-key house artist, that'd be Eisenberg. This one, man, the bass on this is bass house out the wazoo, man. The slap that this song has, you could run for 6 miles straight with this song on. At like 90 miles an hour, I'll tell you what. Number 11, we have Tornado by Vocoder and Sam Supplier. This was released on the Catch and Release label from Fisher. That's where I found this. But I actually heard this song played at Lollapalooza in 2019 before it was released, obviously, later this year. But I heard this song and I was like, this is off the hook. What is this song? And tried to Shazam it. Didn't come up. Yeah. You want to hear about skill? Try Shazamming a song with thousands of people around you. Now we're in the top 10. Wow, that was pretty quick. I flew through those pretty quick. Let's get into the top 10. Number 10, Danger by Shipwreck. Shipwreck has been a duo that I saw. They played at Columbus at Midway when I was, I think, a junior in college, if I remember. And I am a big fan of these guys. These guys are making some of the most energetic, fun house music of the past couple of years. I mean, I've been a big fan of Shipwreck, and their project that came out this year was really good. I suggest checking it out. But Danger is my favorite track on there. The bass on this is heavy as hell. I love the vocals, the hook, I guess you would call it, is really catchy. Yeah, dope house track. Super heavy on the bass too. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, Danger. Shipwreck is killing it right now. Number 9, No Time by Good Times Ahead, GTA, and Will K. GTA has been around for a while. They've been, or Good Times Ahead, I guess now what they're called, because GTA is like Grand Theft Auto and whatever. But yeah, Good Times Ahead, Will K. Will K is actually a house producer that's been kind of on the come up. He made a song called Peanut Butter last year that I thought was really fun. So I'm glad to see him finally getting some work with some big names like GTA. So that's dope. And I loved this track. The production on here, the way the vocals are overlaid with the bass, it works so well. Number 8, Raindrops by Zookeeper and Carla Monroe. Really good mixture of pop and bass house music. Really, really good stuff. Zookeeper has been killing it over the past year, making some really fun pop house mixed with bass house. I mean, really good stuff from Zookeeper. He's been killing it in the remix game as well. So, Raindrops was definitely my favorite release from him this year. Really heavy bass. But at the same time has some good catchy vocals. So I think this kind of could fit as like a good hybrid but for people that like more pop music, but also like, the heavy bass house music that I like. So yeah, definitely a good spot there, number 8. Number 7 is Freaks by Fisher. You knew Fisher was going to have to be on this list. I love Fisher. I've seen Fisher 2 or 3 times now, if I can remember. Yeah, 3 times now. Once at Lollapalooza, I saw him in Vegas, and I saw him in Columbus. So, I've seen Fisher around, and he's a lot of fun. He has a lot of energy. And Freaks is a really heavy house banger, just straight house. And that's what you're going to get with Fisher. He's just about as textbook house as you can get. And, he does it really well. And he always has very clean bass that hits hard, and it's fun. And, I love the shoes come off and the freaks come out. Yeah. Really good stuff. Fun house. Number 6, we have Coming Home by A-Track and Ferric Dawn. I mean, really one of the coolest samples of the year. I mean, this is a sample that actually Harry Fraud used on the Marina, as I talked about that album a little bit earlier when talking about the albums. But this sample we've heard before, but using it in a house setting worked so well, and I love that. Yeah, really dope melody, really fun. I was bumming this heavy in like the summertime. Great summertime house song. Yeah, I'm a really, really big fan of this one, and I love when house producers could take these kind of jazzy, funky songs that came from times before and make them into something new. So A-Track is a legend of the game. It's been around for a long time, and to make a fun house song like this, really, really good stuff. Number 5 on my list was a song that I absolutely had no idea would be this high on my list, but it is because of how much I played it, and that'd be You'll Be There by Drinks on Me. Drinks on Me is he's a producer and a DJ that I've been really riding the bandwagon of this year for sure. He makes a lot of really low key but also bouncy house music, and it's not too heavy, so that's what I kind of like about it. You can get away with playing it with people and they won't be like, wow, why is this so loud? It's very calming but also groovy production on here. So You'll Be There. And Drinks on Me has had a lot of really good songs this year. He's really kind of come on the scene, in my opinion. He has a really good song with Blue Claire out as well. I would recommend that. That one should have been on this list probably. But You'll Be There by Drinks on Me, super great vocals. And that drop is my favorite of the year from from Drinks on Me. So keep it up, man. You're killing it. Number 4, Don't Start Now, Kung's remix by Dua Lipa. So a pop song that was remixed into a more of a house, piano house production. And then, like I said, I love piano house as well. That's another one to add to the list. And this is one that I absolutely love. And Kung's, for me, they kind of had a really popular remix come out a couple of years ago that dun 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 dun. So I forget what that song's called, but it was all over commercials and stuff. So they kind of came on the scene and did a really good remix of a really catchy Dua Lipa song. So I played this one a lot in the summer, and I love the way that the vocals are sampled on the build up. It works so well and really hits hard, and that drop really works. So shout out to Kungs, they're killing it. Number 3 on my list, Love Like That by Cascade and Danny Poppet. Wow. Cascade killed it with this track. One of my favorite singles of the year, period. I love the vocals on here. The hook is super catchy. And I love the piano that is used on the drop. And it's very simple, this song. And sometimes simple is best because, Cascade really lets the vocals of Danny Poppet speak for themselves and kind of layers it with a little bit of bass that really kind of picks up on the drop. And then you get obviously great piano throughout and a really catchy piano melody, like I mentioned. So really, really into this one. I was bumping this heavy in Mexico, heavy in late February. And that's the thing. A lot of these songs that are higher up on the list came out earlier in the year. And I think that's because vibes were a lot better during those times than obviously now. But, whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, great song. And Cascade, who knew Cascade would, because I'm not the biggest Cascade fan in the world, but man, that really great track. But I do love Cascade, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think a Cascade song would be this high on my list in 2020, but shout out to Cascade. Number two on my list is Nightcrawler by Duke Dumont and Say Lulu. Holy crap, what a fun pop house song by Duke Dumont. I mean, he killed it with Ocean Drive, which was an incredibly popular song, I think a couple of years ago. And then his album came out this year, and this song is on it, Nightcrawler, and super, super good, pop house. I mean, really more on the pop side, I would say, but super catchy, super fun, and not too, but it isn't. I would say it's probably the least house song on this list, which is strange because it is number 2. But it definitely has a lot of that house production. It definitely has the BPMs. It definitely has the hard bass. But yeah, I love the vocals on here so much, and the hook is super catchy. Very, very big fan of this one. I was bumping this a lot. And then number 1 on my list is All on Me by Chami and Zoo. I talked about this earlier, but I love this track. This is my favorite house song of the year, in my opinion. And I think it's because I heard this song in February when I saw Chami. I'll put some of the B-roll up here from the video I took, but I saw Chami in February, and it was a really, really great concert, especially looking back now because it was one of the last concerts I went to. And it was, kind of him promoting this new album, Year Zero, that came out. And he played this song, All on Me, and I saw it. And as soon as I heard it, I'm like, this is the Chami and Zoo song that we had been hearing about, because the two had teased about working together and doing music. And obviously they had the Hard Summer set in 2019, which was incredible. So I was like, I need to see these two do a song together. And they finally, and Chami had hinted on it on social media that he was going to collaborate with Zoo. And I'm glad they finally did this, because I love both these artists to death. I think they're both so good. And the production on here is so heavy. And I love the contrast with the hard bass, and then it gets into that dun 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 dun, like so good, and it's so layered and dense. And I remember hearing this song in concert, and I was like, "Yo, this is off the hook." So I recorded it, and I was like, "What is this song? Like, it must be an ID," and it was. And here, in late October, it finally comes out, and I was like, "Yo, this is just how I remembered it," because I remember listening to it over and over again, like when I recorded it, and I was like, "This song is so good!" Like, I was like, I can't wait for it to come out. And it finally came out, and it delivered. It was great. So yeah, I love this song. I love everything from the production to the vocals to the hook. Everything's so catchy, and it's everything I wanted from a Chami and Zeus song. So it had to make my number one because of the hype I had around it. I was so excited for this to come out, and now that it is out, it's great. And Rebirth was another one I was thinking about putting on this list, but again, that one I had already kind of put Nightcrawler on this list, and I was like, that one's not really a house track either. And Monsignor was another one I was going to put on, but this one was at number one. And there was a bunch of other singles that I wanted to put on, and there's a lot of songs on this Chami album that I could have thrown on this list, but I was like, I might as well pick one because there's so many other singles from lesser known artists that I think deserve a little bit more attention than Chami because he's at number one, and I've already talked about the album, so. Yeah, but that's my 20 house songs of 2020. I don't know if I'll do this again. If I get enough views, if people care. If not, I don't know. I like talking about house music. It's a genre that doesn't get a lot of love on YouTube and on the internet, I think. So, and definitely not in podcasts. So I'm kind of tapping into some uncharted waters. I don't know. If you guys like it, let me know. If you don't, don't let me know. Or do. I don't care. But, man, but yeah, I wanted to thank everybody, though, with this last few minutes. I want to thank everybody for 2020, man, and big things coming in 2021. I got a lot of people that want to come on. I have some big things in the works that I don't want to talk about yet, but they are materializing. And yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming, so please be on the lookout. Please be on the lookout and share this with people. Put this on a Twitter thread somewhere where someone's talking about music. Throw this on there and see if people like it. I don't know. Post it on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your YouTubes. You know how it is. Find me on all the social media. Thanks for everything. Thanks for a great 2020, man. I really had a great time this year. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, it was. I mean, but think about what you learned. Think about how you grew this year, because everybody grew in some way. We all had to face some sort of hardship, and whatever it may be and whatever severity it was, it obviously varies, but look back on it, because this is going to be a year you're never going to forget. You're going to be like, man, we really had to do all that stuff, so, you grow and you learn. So I think that's really what I took away from 2020. It was an awesome, crazy year. And the Roaring 20s, man, I talked about the Roaring 20s a year ago with Sam Turk and Luis Reed on episode 12. You can check that out. And we talked about the Roaring 20s, and who would have thought the Roaring 20s would have roared like this? But man, we're only a year in, so we got plenty of time for this decade to turn around and really become a really prosperous and fun Roaring 20s. Who knows? But yeah, thanks everybody again for everything. Thanks for a great 2020 and a better 2021. I got more stuff coming down the tubes, so please be on the lookout. I have more lists coming too. There's some more lists that I'm thinking about doing. Obviously, my top 10 movies of the year will be coming out. Probably in the next couple of weeks. There's still some stuff I want to see, but that will be coming out, so do not worry. More top 10 to come. Excuse me. More guests to come. More fun to come. So be on the lookout, man. I got more to come. I think I made that clear. But thanks again for everything. Have a great 2021. Oh yeah, rest in peace to MF Doom, by the way. Rest in peace to a legend. Don't know how I didn't talk about that earlier, but seriously, I will do something with Doom in the future, because Doom is one of my favorites. But rip Doom. Happy 2021. Go Buckeyes. If I don't do an episode before the national championship, my prediction, final score, Buckeyes 35, Alabama 33. That's my final. It's gonna be high scoring. Who knows? I could see Bama winning though. Don't sit here and give me crap if Bama ends up winning. I mean, they're probably going to win, but wishful thinking, go Buckeyes. Do not think so. So we'll see what happens. Go Bucks. And to you Bama fans, look out. We're coming. We're hungry. Justin Fields, he's going to be back. He's going to be thirsty as hell. So, yeah, thanks for everything, guys, though. Like I said, Roaring 20s are off. We are roaring. Things are going to be crazy here this year. I think we're going to have a crazy 2021. But hopefully a more prosperous one for everybody. So be on the lookout. More stuff coming in the next couple weeks. If I didn't make that clear in the last few minutes, I've been rambling here. But thanks again for watching, guys. And I'll see you on the flip side. Peace, and let the beat drop.